What's the funniest thing that's happened to you during 6? Turns out the headboard was exactly the right height to sit on for a BJ. Turns out the headboard wasn't strong enough to hold his weight. My chest and hers came together in exactly the right way to form a vacuum. When we changed position, there was this cartoon-like shamak when we pulled apart. It killed the mood and we both broke down in fits of giggles. This girl was going down on me for a bit, and after she gets tired she comes to give me a kiss. I whisper to her, "Now it's my turn." And she looks at me with the most confused look of disgust and says, "What? You're gonna suck your own dick?" One time I thought I had closed the door, but my dog is smart AF and got it open. Trotted up to the bed. And gave my boyfriend's foot a quick lick. He was so startled he yelled, "WTFY?" And the dog, feeling guilty, came to where I was laying and tried to get forgiveness pets by shoving at my arm. I was wheezing from laughter. It was a lovely summer evening and my parents were out shopping. After calculating the time I have left, I invited my girlfriend over. We were 16 at that time. After we started having sex on the couch, my parents suddenly came back and my naked GF jumped out of the window, straight to the garden. I couldn't find a reasonable explanation for why am I naked. The window is open and plants which were on the windowsill are now on the floor. I've never been that embarrassed in my life. Either first or second time I had sex with my ex. We'd literally just finished. As in I hadn't even pulled out of her yet and her mum walks in. We both freeze and I daren't look because her mum was a bit fierce and all I hear is, "Oh. I thought you were just friends," and then the door close again. My ex bursts out laughing and about 5 minutes later I hear her mum on the phone telling her sister. We were doing the deed and the guy felt a fart coming. To his credit he warned me and tried to cover the noise by singing in a high-pitched voice. For a solid 10 seconds he was farting machine gun style while yodeling loudly. Still not the worst sex I've had. As I was going down on my wife, the cat decided it would be a good time to climb and sit on top of my head. I tried to ignore it. But when she looked down she started laughing so hard that it killed the mood for the rest of the night. Ripped a fart accidentally when I came on her tits. Her face went from pleasure to just a dead stare while holding her tits. We were 17. Girlfriend's playlist was going in her car. We were in the trunk so we couldn't reach the phone playing the music. Sappy love song. Sappy love song. Alt rock song. Rock song. And then, Kermit the Frog. I have no idea what the song was because I was too busy having sex for like the third time ever, but she started laughing and I stopped and laughed for a second and she looked at it like she was going to change it, but I plowed right through. So we frocked to Kermit the Frog. It's a fun memory. Since we were teens and I was away at boarding school most of the time. Whenever we saw each other all we did was have sex. So I don't have a lot of fun memories with her of just like hanging out. So it's nice that I have this one. I had gone over to this guy's house wearing my new Vans shoes. I was in high school, so these $50 shoes were my Sunday's best. We went upstairs and started going at it. He was behind me and I was facing the window to the backyard. Like 5 minutes in I see his dog run into the backyard and tear one of my new shoes apart all over the graw. I thought it was so funny I couldn't even be upset. I miss that dog. I was with a girl who liked to wrestle a bit and be held down. Except she was a dancer with incredibly powerful legs and I underestimated her. And she accidentally kicked me in the chest and broke one of my ribs. Funny story. We decided that it would be a good idea to try something new. Dating for nearly 2 years at this point. And went to have sex in the shower. Foreplay happened. The shower was on. To add to the disaster, I knocked my shampoo by accident. But we shrugged it off. Last thing I knew, he slipped on the shampoo and we both went down. He cracked his pelvis. Nothing too dangerous, so he was fine after some months. And I had a cut on my lip because I bit it by accident when we fell. We're not dating anymore. But we're still friends. And we still laugh about it. I used to have a cat. Named Voltaire. His nickname was Felis Interruptus. He would climb on my now ex-husband's back when he was on top. I was going down on my GF in high school. I was kneeling next to the bed with her legs hanging off the end. I was fully erect and my cat came from under the bed and licked the tip of my penis. Scared the shit out of me. If you have ever felt a cat's tongue you'll know how horribly uncomfortable that felt on the tip of my member. My girlfriend was on top and her Fitbit starts going off. She looks at it and throws her hands up and says, Yes. I met my steps goal. This is with my current so. A few months ago we were getting hot and heavy and his absolute best friend called in the middle of it. Without missing a beat my boo answered the call, still thrusting. His friend was inviting us both out to go eat brunch. Watching this man just smiling down at me trying his absolute best not to make it sound like he's having sex while still very much having it and talking about his favorite food made me laugh my ass off. Needless to say we never finished but frock it made my day. Boyfriend was going down on me. He started doing a Cookie Monster impression while he was down there. Made me laugh so hard I let out a little fart right in his face. In middle of it we heard her little brother jokingly yell from the other side of the door. "Don't be fucking." Then he ran in. Didn't have any time to hide, so I just stared at him. He yelled, "Oh fuck," and ran out of the room. Other thing that is more embarrassing than funny, but my GF's mother has the tendency to either not knock at all or knock on the door but no wait at all before rushing in. Most of the time we've managed to hide. Of course she probably always knows what has been happening but at least she hasn't seen me fully naked a whole lot, but once my GF was sitting on top of me and her mom came in. GF managed to grab a blanket but she literally sitting on top of me isn't obvious at all. Edit. No. Her door doesn't have a lock. One of the very first times I ever had sex. I looked out my window to see my neighbor having sex with his girlfriend. He noticed me and nodded wassup midstroke. Later found out that the girl he was having sex with at that moment was my neighbor from the house that I had just moved away from like 6 months prior. My new neighbor was frocking my old neighbor and I saw them while having sex with my girlfriend. It's not so much the funniest, but the most embarrassing was seeing a guy who was just a super big fan of anginas, thought they were beautiful and all that crap. Midway it's really hot. So he stops to go open a window. I decide now is a perfect time to get in a seductive pose. So I'm on all fours. Back arched. I got the response I wanted. He went back there to play around. And I guess released some trapped air. Let me say. The air was aggressive. You ever see the gif of the cow with the wig on? And its hair is blowing majestically. That's what I imagined he looked like. A cop knocked on the window of the car we were in. He seemed more embarrassed than us. Turns out he'd been dating the girl I was with. Very awkward to say the least. I felt kinda shitty about that. She pawed out while on top of me right before I had to leave so I couldn't get up, and that was the first time I've ever used a sick day at work. Probably when I lost my virginity. Accidentally poked her in the butthole from behind and she turned around. Stuck a finger in my face and sternly said, "No." I laughed and told her it was an accident and we proceeded from there. Also that one time my roommate carded my locked bedroom door during a party. I was balls deep in my FWB doggy style and another friend was standing next to him. Slammed the door shut, and then I heard him scream. My eyes. Through the wall. Can't remember if we finished or not. Broke my wife's nose with my forehead. An ex of mine curled and farted right in succession when we were nearly at the point of climax. She was absolutely mortified but I thought it was the funniest thing ever at the time and it honestly just made me feel more comfortable with her. It was. However, very sad how bad she felt about it. She legitimately thought I would never want to touch her again simply for having natural bodily emissions. Honestly, it never fails to depress when I hear the kinds of things that partners think will make me less attracted to them. I remember she had like the loudest queef ever and she was so embarrassed but I couldn't contain my laughter. Oh my god. I think I was crying of laughter. It wasn't the first time she had queefed during sex. But this time it was so loud, oh boy, I felt so bad afterwards. She became a bit self-conscious because I was her first ever sexual partner. So after the fact, I remember we sat down and talked about how it was natural and there was nothing wrong with it. I mean, she was my wife so I obviously was supportive. But I'll never forget that loud as queef. She was on her knees. Face down on the bed and I ate her out. That frocking fart blast that just ripped right up my nose gave me a good scare. I was sitting on his face for the first time while he ate me out. And I squirted without even realizing. Instant waterboard. I noticed he made a weird face and thought maybe I was smothering him too much, but instead he made a run for the bathroom to spit it all out. Killed the mood because we were laughing so hard and now I joke to him about how he doesn't swallow. It was the first time we were gonna try anal. We were young and dumb. But at least we knew to use a condom. So he's coming at me doggy style and getting nowhere. He's thrusting but my hole is not lubricated. At all. It's painful and I'm not sure about any of it when I hear a loud pop. I scramble away and look back. Seems the condom exploded and there's pieces just hanging off his dick. I quick check my butt but I'm okay. There's clearly a piece of condom missing so we start looking. We found it. A piece had stuck to the ceiling. We laughed for years about that incident. One time. My current so and I were frocking doggy style. As most people know, this is notorious for queefs. Anyways. After about 5 minutes or so I pull out just a little too much and she queefs. NBD. I decide it'd be funny to reach under her and press up on her stomach. I unleashed the loudest queef I've ever heard in my life. And to top it off, she started laughing and every single chuckle sent out a quiet queef. We ended up finishing after laughing for about 5 minutes. Love that girl. We've been in an ongoing Nerf war since I want to say February. Recently she pulled a pistol from underneath her pillow and shot me point blank while I came. *edit. Wow. Thanks everyone. To clarify. I was on top and she shot me in the chin, she was aiming for my mouth. We both farted at the exact same time. Whilst maintaining eye contact. When I first started dating my girlfriend I stepped on a bottle of lube spraying it all over her wall and then slipped on it. Fell on the floor. Then subsequently farted on impact. 2 seconds later the Canada Day fireworks went off in the harbor downtown. True story. I wish I could make that my signature move. Left the door open when nobody was home. When I was about to come my dog ran into the room barking and tried to jump up onto the bed. Also once was at an Airbnb and the bed was making a lot of noises and mid-frock the headboard broke off and fell on top of us. One of the first times I ever had sex with my wife. I was trying to jack off on her face and I was using my spit as lube. She said, "You're getting spit on the face." But I heard, "Spit on my face." So I did and we both died of laughter. Me and my friend occasionally have had sex on 3 occasions and the last time I was eating her out. She had music playing. Some advertisement that we would always sing along to came on and without having to say anything to each other we both popped our heads up. Sang along with the ad. Then got right back down to business. We didn't realize how funny it was until WEL after we had finished. Another time. Our first time. I was showing her the strap-on and she started hitting it. I told her to slap it as hard as she could. And she slapped it so hard it came out of the harness and slapped her in the face. We absolutely lost it. I don't know why but we were laughing at something before we had sex and it just kept on popping inside our minds while we were having sex so we ended up laughing while we were doing it until we finally stopped having sex just so we could have a good laugh. In the end. We were too exhausted from laughing that we just fell asleep naked. My nickname for a while at my husband's job was Trooper. 'Cause the first time we hooked up I was giving him a blowthrob and he gave me a heads up that he was about to come. What does my Doombas do? I gave him a thumbs up. He came and then began to laugh. Then he recounted the story to his work buddies and one said, "Ah, she's a real trooper then," and it stuck. Last time we saw this particular coworker at a bar he greeted me as Trooper. Still. 3 years on. Ex-boyfriend had a daddy kink. During 6 he asked me who he was. I'm the dumbest person on earth so I responded with, "My boyfriend." He said no and asked again. "Kyle." He said not quite. It then clicked in my head and I broke out laughing during 6. Didn't mean to kink shame but I stopped having 6 just to laugh at him. Background. Earlier in the day, I had come across a Reddit thread about funny things to say as you come and someone in there I had read the suggestion of 10 points to Gryffindor. So fast forward to later that night. My wife and I were going at it doggy style and as I feel myself about to climax, I lean forward and whisper the before quote into her ear as I come. She punched me. Several times. I, however, was rolling with laughter the whole time. The first time my wife and I had sex, her first time ever, I stopped mid-stroke and said, "Sorry but I've been holding this for a long time," and cut a full 5-second fart. We both laughed our asses off and she patted me on the ass and said to keep going. This is why you marry your best friend. While my girlfriend at the time was giving me oral. She came up for a breath and proceeded to sneeze, propelling her head forward straight into my groin. I was nearing completion and was already pretty sensitive so it hurt like you wouldn't believe. She laughed her ass off as I cradled my gooch, and we couldn't bring ourselves to finish. The night ended with us watching Netflix as I held an ice pack to my taint. Edit. Spelling. A horse put its head in through the car window and licked my butt as I was in the throes of passion with a lady. One of my exes loved dirty talk, but I was still relatively inexperienced in that field, and one time while she was riding me she starts doing the dirty talk and goes, "Are you gonna come for me, baby?" And my response was, "Well, I'm gonna try." She started laughing, but we kept going anyway. Mid-anal she decides she wants to 69. She gets off my dick and spins around to suck while I eat her out, and she must have relaxed too much, because she took a sit on my face. We're getting married next year. Luckily she found it hilarious, because I was mortified. He was on top and there was an earthquake. Definitely a bit startling but funny. It wasn't that bad of one. I don't remember all the details, but my boyfriend at the time played some prank on me. All was good and fun, but I felt like I needed revenge. So while we were having sex, I was on top of him and had to fart. Normally I just hold it and deal, but this was my chance for revenge. I stopped moving and he just looked up at me and asked what I was doing. I farted right on his balls. Loud and juicy sounding. He laughed so frocking hard. It was my perfect revenge. My dog licked his balls while we were in doggy style. Was doing it with someone and our friend knocks on the door. "Hey, I have a question. Not now, insertnamehre. Seriously. You guys want to throw around a baseball?" Edit. Did not expect my biggest karma count to be about my sex life. Thank you, Reddit. I was laying in bed. My boyfriend on top of me. He was about to go inside me, but just before he did, I half shouted, "Open the beef curtain." I died of laughter on the bed and my boyfriend walked away. Let's just say I didn't get any that night. I was trying to eloquently spit on my hand for some extra wetness while I was playing with her. I had way too much. I could have just wiped it on something quick. Anything else really. Instead I decided to just lick my own spit off my hand and proceed to gag at the taste. She thought it was hilarious though, so it worked out. As she got on top she dug her knee into me. I said, "Arg. You need me in the ass." She said, "I do not need you in my ass." And 60 time was over. This actually happened to a friend of mine, but it's so hilarious I wanna share it. So he was pretty young when this happened. Like 15 maybe. And wasn't too experienced obviously. The girl he had sex with was a bit kinky and told him to slap her. He wasn't too comfortable with that, so he started pretty easy, but she told him to harder and harder and harder. Until he literally pulled his arm back as far as he could and slapped as hard as possible. She still said harder. So what did this idiot do? Decides to form a fist and just punch her in the face. Knocked her out cold. I died laughing when he told me that. Turned out later she actually liked it and wants him to do it again. My then boyfriend at the time got a bloody nose and started to bleed on my face. It was my fault. I fell off the couch and hit his nose with my hip, so it caused a bloody nose. That isn't even the end of it. Once things got steamy and we finished, he took off the condom and spilled some cum on my shoe. I was dying of laughter and also embarrassment. It was the best. Had a second date with a guy. He stayed the night. We made out but didn't have sex. Then the next morning, I definitely blew him. And as he was coming, my roommate, who had been cooking bacon or something in the kitchen, set off the smoke detector. Something about the timing of the alarm going off as he was getting off just really made me laugh. ETA. I didn't think people would get so much enjoyment out of my admittedly weird use of. Definitely. Lol. And also, for what it's worth, I am a dude. I accidentally whipped my dick off with a paper towel that was previously used to wipe hot sauce off my hands. Imagine sticking a lit cigar on the tip of your penis. Monstrous queefs. It's really hard not to laugh and ruin his climax. I have 2 nose incidents. The first. My girlfriend at the time stopped to take a quick breath, but right when I was about to blast, it shot right when she lifted up and was a direct hit straight up her nose. I died laughing. The second. My next girlfriend at the time wasn't big on giving head and definitely didn't like to swallow. She decided to give it a try one time. Well, on that one time, she sort of coughed while I was finishing and ended up coughing it out of her nose. She never tried again. Thankfully there has been no nose incidents with the current GF. Yet. Not 6. But nothing kills the mood faster than a hip just eating itself out of place and having to pause everything and go, "Honey, would you help me put my hip back into place?" Mood gone every time. Without fail. Edit. Yes. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Probably should have mentioned that. And yes, this happens much more frequently than I'd like to admit. Jaw, shoulders and collarbones will pop out. Ribs just decide to rattle around like a defective marimba in an earthquake, so no, it's not just the hips. P. Hostel in Rome. One of those cheap rooms with about 8 bunk beds per room. Right on the other side of the wall was the communal area per bar. I had been flirting with this Kiwi girl for most of the night. At one point, we discover the bedroom is empty. So we close the door and go at it. About 10 minutes in, the bunk bed collapses on us. About 20 people rush in at the sound of the crash and screams. We got teased pretty unmercifully for the rest of the night. Finished smashing after everyone else was asleep, though. So no harm done. Animal 6 came on the TV when we were getting started, and then my girlfriend couldn't stop laughing. She farted. First we thought it is normal and somehow cute, then we found out it was diarrhea. Back soon after my girlfriend and I just started dating, we had been out drinking and I had insisted on some drug 60 times, claiming I was good to go and wasn't that drunk. I was. I started going down on her, and midway through I noticed her thighs were pretty comfy and dead set just pawed out while licking her out. She noticed a few seconds later when I started snoring into her crotch and whacked me awake. Me completely unaware I had just pawed out, got right back to the job. I guess she figured it was better than nothing, so she let me continue. That was until I got a bit sleepy and pawed out a second time. This time she wasn't as forgiving and I was promptly expelled from between her legs. Eating a girl out. Got really wet. Wiped my face and looked. It was blood. I said, "Why didn't you tell me you might be in your period?" She was in complete dismay, apologizing. I went upstairs to wash my face. And after I did, I see this little trickle of blood come from my nose. I got a nosebleed while going down on someone. Luckily we had been dating for a while, so it was just laughed about. I tried to throw away the condom packet sixily by throwing it across the room, misjudged the distance and accidentally gave her a scathing backhand across the face. She was unimpressed. 6 did not commence. 2 weeks ago me and my husband tried a new position. I think it's called upright torsos. We finished and I rolled off to grab the towel. I was a lot closer to the edge than I thought I was. Rolled off in my philtrum. I think it's called that. Above my cupids now but below my nose. Hit the metal bed frame and split open. Now I have a scar there. I laughed about it while cleaning my blood. Garbage truck pulled up and parked right next to our car while we tried to hide by lying low. Then he stayed there a while. We were laughing our asses off. The bed broke. We powered on through on the broken bed. Slept the night on the broken bed. Fixed it the next morning. Tried to settle down the next night. I was with my ex-girlfriend and I was about to finish on her face and I got up too quickly and hit my head against the wall and pawed out. I apparently ejaculated a lot. Me pawed out in a pool of cum and a huge swelled forehead. Officially her funniest experience and my most embarrassing. My GF's dog jumped on the bed and started licking my butt. And this happened just yesterday. My GF was finishing me off in her mouth after we had been going at it for a while. And the exact moment as she grabbed my balls my dog chewed. Wath, perfect timing. On a squeaky toy. It was like getting a BJ in a cartoon. While 69ing. She let out a blast of as wind from the bowels of hell. Satan's breath would have smelled minty in comparison. Just finished doing the deed when there was a small earthquake. I turn and look her dead in the eye and say, "Did the earth move for you?" Went to pull my husband out of his boxers but released the waistband too quick and snapped his balls. I felt so bad, but men getting hit in the balls is just one of those things that will always make me laugh. We both cried a little. Still finished after. I was with my old FWB. She wants to use a warming lube. I put the condom on. She lubes me up and we start going at it. 5 minutes or so in. I feel a tingling. Which turns into a burning. I had to stop. Rip the condom off and jump in the shower. Turns out that I'm allergic to something in the lube. I had a red blotch circled around my white penis for a day. Was at his place. They had just moved in and they didn't really have any furniture, so I was sitting on a city $10 fold-out chair. We were drinking and essentially had a full night of just extended foreplay and teasing each other. At one point he sat on my lap and started going to town, putting some whipped cream on me and sucking it off. And then the chair broke, causing us both to tumble on the ground. We burst out laughing and then took things to the bedroom instead. Had to explain to his roommate the next day why their one spare chair was broken. One time I was trying to do 6E talk and ended up saying, "I can't wait to be inside you. I'm a girl and he was a guy." Mom came in. She broke the frocking door. Pulled out. A little piece of poop popped out. She promptly knelt in it and ruined her new carpet. Right as we both came, she sort of collapsed in disappointment and went, "No, ooh. My carpet." In a half cry. Was hilarious, but never doing anal again. 10. Finally, a specific one I can answer. This was probably my second time having sex with my girlfriend. Now wife. We were going at it on the floor and my knee must have crept up and found her car keys, to which her panic alarm went off and completely stopped what we had been doing. Scared the shit out of us. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Who knew my most upvoted comment would be about hitting the car alarm patiently hugging? Was hooking up with a deaf friend of mine for a while, and anyway we were doing it at her place one night, and for some reason she has like a loft style bed with a desk underneath, but it sits close to the fan. I had her in doggy and straightened up too much and the fan hit me real damn hard and knocked me out like a light. The funny part is I kinda went stiff like a board, apparently because she kept grinding away for a few minutes before she realized I'd gone soft and was bleeding all over her sheets. Was having sex with my girl. I slowed down the pace to a complete stop. And right before I nutted inside her, I whispered to her ear, "Hail Hydra." All of the lust turned into laughter. This happened during our first weeks of dating. We were both a bit drunk and I gave my BF a BJ. I'm not the best at holding my alcohol in, and a finger in my throat usually triggers puking pretty easily. You can probably already guess where this is going. So while I was blowing him, I got triggered and just puked on his dick. The worst part, however, was that I didn't freaking notice it. I was apparently drunk enough to not notice that there's frocking puke all over him and just kept going. He needed to point out to me that I just vomited all over him and it was so embarrassing. At the same time, I couldn't stop laughing while he was cleaning up in the shower. We're still going strong though.